My name is Sandy Litchfield, and I'm mostly a painter. I'm an artist. I live in Amherst, Massachusetts, where I teach at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. I've been painting landscapes since ever since I became interested in being an artist, which was when I was about 18 years old. And I think I was drawn most to landscapes because that was what inspired me at the time. And then gradually, as I kind of went into it and did some research and explored, I realized that my attraction to landscape was really about trying to figure out who I was, that somehow understanding my surroundings and my place would help me to understand who I was in that place. My process in landscape has really changed a lot over the years. So when I started doing landscape and I was looking at a lot of the traditions behind landscape painting, the Hudson River landscape painters, and particularly the early American modernist landscapes, I was mainly imitating. And I was portraying a scene, a particular scene that was stationary. And later on I became much more interested in our experience in the landscape. So not necessarily just portraying a scape or a framed picture, a scene, but how do we move through that landscape and how can we portray that sense of moving through the landscape rather than just, as a passive observer of that space looking through, say, a window. What does it actually feel like to move through the landscape? So when those questions started to come up for me, I started to think a lot about maps as a way to describe place and our movement through place. And so then for me the question was, how do I take this scape, this kind of perspective, this window, this portal, and then also combine it with a map, which is an aerial perspective. So you have one perspective that is very frontal, like an elevation, kind of looking out a window, and then you have another perspective which is looking down onto the landscape, kind of trying to portray the overview. This is kind of like, I think of this as like my compost pile. Work that is not working out kind of goes back into the compost pile. And then when I have an idea, I have this kind of archive of material that I can pull from, and that sort of helps develop the work. Diversity in the surface and diversity in the way that something is painted is really important to me because it's more like the landscape in that sense. There's lots of little different things to look at. So the trick is really to get those things working together in a way that they don't make a mess, in short, and that they, it's like having lots of instruments in an orchestra and then trying to make them make a beautiful sound. Everybody has a relationship to landscape. So even if it's a much different kind of landscape, it could be an urban landscape, it could be a rural landscape, it could be an ocean landscape, north or south or wherever it is, but we all have a relationship to place. It's very personal, but it's also very inclusive. And so I like that about it.